and welcome to the March 8th meeting of the Board of School Trustees. This meeting will be open to the public during Indiana's ongoing public health emergency as declared by Governor Holcomb. Masks must be worn at all times on FWCS grounds. Social distancing will be practiced at the meeting, therefore, some members of the public who wish to attend may be excluded. If you plan to attend media, please email Public Information Officer Krista Stockman. All others, email the Clerk of the Board, Angela Filler. The public is encouraged to view the meeting at Cable Comcast 54 and Frontier 24, the live stream on our Facebook page, or the LTV 2454 FWCS YouTube channel. Priority for attendance in person will be given to the members of the media. Let's stand for our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll begin this evening with roll call of members.
Good evening, Steve Corona from the 5th District.
Hello, Raleigh Booker, 4th District.
Hello, Jennifer Matthias from the 2nd District.
Maria Norman, Member at Large.
Julie Hollingsworth, elected from District 1.
Noah Smith, 3rd District.
And to my left is Angela Filler, the Clerk of the Board, and our Superintendent, Dr. Daniel. We have one award, the Prudential Spirit of Community Award, and Jennifer is going to present that award.
It is recommended that the board recognize Sammy Vance for receiving the Prudential Spirit of Community Award for her Blood Benches initiative. As one of 2 students selected from the state of Indiana, she was selected as Indiana's top middle-level youth volunteer for 2021. She will receive a $2,500 scholarship, an engraved silver medallion, and a virtual celebration along with the other 101 state honorees. Ms. Vance has an opportunity to win additional scholarships and grants for her charity of choice. Please come forward as your name is called so we may congratulate you. Sammy Vance, student at Blackhawk Middle School, is here along with her principal, Zach Carl.
Is it? Good, good. Congratulations.
Would you like to Would you like to tell us how this all began and what the Buddy Bench is? You can.
There's the microphone right over here. You can stand right there.
So the buddy bench is a place for when someone is lonely, they can sit on the buddy bench and another person can come up to them and ask them to play and they can play together. When I was going into 3rd grade, I heard about this and I thought that it was a great idea and that my school could use it because I'd been lonely and I didn't like that feeling, so I didn't want anyone else to feel that way. And I asked my principal about it and he said that it was a great idea, and we did it in a unique way because we collected plastic caps and lids to do it, so that it would help the recycling aspect along with friendships. And that's just kind of how the story began.
So that was your funding of the items that you collected? They recycled and got money for them?
So the caps got recycled into the buddy benches.
Oh,
and
okay.
yeah.
Gotcha.
And do you have any other projects that you're working on now?
So I have, during COVID-19, I started a project called Sending Smiles, where I sent an encouraging letter to someone every day because I knew that people needed smiles during this time. And then I also have a podcast now called Sammy Smiles.
Very nice.
Nice.
Anything else you'd like to tell us about all the kind of things? I mean, you just keep popping up everywhere. You want to tell us about your book?
Oh yeah, I have a book coming out August 24th, and it's just about my journey and how other people can make a difference.
Awesome.
Can you tell us about your benches that are going to be around the city?
Yeah, so for a little while, the Parks Department helped collect plastic caps and lids, and we sorted them, and now we have enough for, I think, about 11 benches to go around.
Cool.
And how are they identified? Like Thanks. As a buddy bench, how do you know?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they are going to say buddy bench.
Okay. Very nice. Well, thank
Any
you.
other thing in the future that we need to know about that you can tell us ahead of time?
Not that I know of.
Yeah, don't give anything away.
Congratulations.
Somebody might steal your idea.
We hope we see
Well,
you
you are a
again.
very creative and thoughtful young lady.
Thank you.
So congratulations on your award.
Thank you.
And good luck with your next venture.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sam.
thank you.
You can go right through here if you want to. It's fine, thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda is the consent agenda, which includes the approval of the minutes from February 22nd, vouchers and payroll, and the personnel report. It is recommended that the board approve the vouchers for the period ending May 8th, 2021, and the payroll for the period ending February 12th, 2021. All vouchers paid by the Fort Wayne Community Schools appear on a voucher listing totaling $6,148,613.45. Gross wages and fringe benefits paid by the Fort Wayne Community Schools appear on the payroll certification document totaling $8,340,201.44 for the period ending February 12th, 2021. And all those items can remain on file in the business office until audited by the State Board of Accounts. Is there a motion?
I'd move approval of the items listed under the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Okay, next we have a recommendation that an award be made to the lowest responsible and responsive bidder for the purchase of network switches to be installed at 17 Fort Wayne Community School locations. The lowest bidder was Vector Tech Group in Holland, Michigan, for a total of $157,950. This purchase for Rucket Network Power over Ethernet switches will replace switches reaching their end of life at 17 Fort Wayne Community School locations. Due to USF discounts, Fort Wayne Community Schools will only be responsible for 15% of the purchase cost, $23,692.50. Funding will come from the Operations Fund. Invitations to bid were sent to 12 prospective bidders, with 6 responding. The highest at $365,000 and the lowest was for the Vector Tech at $157 something. Jack Bird, Director of Technology, is available to answer questions. Is there a motion on the floor for approval?
I move approval.
Second.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Jack?
Jack, these are bigger than a light switch, I would assume.
Yes, these are the switches that all the ports plug into, so all the little things you see around the room here where you plug your computer in, this is the device that handles all that traffic and it has it come down here.
Okay. I just took switches, you know, but with the price, I would assume that it
No,
wasn't.
it's actually a box that
Cool.
all the cables go into.
Awesome.
What is the life of one of those? This is something I don't recall ever seeing before.
Now, we've got some that are, approaching 10 years old.
Okay.
So they last quite a while, but we try to keep them refreshed as they fall out of life and fall out of warranty.
Anything else?
Will we expect to see another, like we've only done 17 locations, I mean, do we kind of keep them in some kind of rotation?
Yes,
Or-
yes, there's a rotation. And so what you have here tonight, this is for our Universal Service Fund. So each year we apply for certain schools, and then the federal government will give us a discount on the purchase of those devices. And so that's what you're seeing here.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Jack. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next it is recommended that an award be made to the lowest responsible and responsive bidder for the purchase of wireless access points to be installed at 17 FWCS locations. Logicalis from New York, for a $411,283.12 is the company we will be using. The purchase for Meraki wireless access points replaces wireless access points reaching their end of life at 17 FWCS locations. Due to Universal Service Fund discounts, Fort Wayne Community Schools will only be responsible for 15% of the purchase. which is $61,692.47. Funding will come from the Operations Fund. Invitations to bid were sent to 12 prospective bidders, with 7 responding. The submittal from Network Solutions of Granger, Indiana for Meraki brand access points did not meet bid specifications. So Logicalis from Meraki, New York was the lowest at $411,000, with the highest being $567,809. Again, Jack will answer questions. Is there a motion for approval?
Move for approval.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and it is recommended that the board accept the extracurricular account reports for the first semester of the 2020-21 school year. Indiana Code 204118 requires an accurate account of all money received and expended by extracurricular accounts. A report of the sources of all receipts, the purposes for which the money was expended, and the balance on hand is required to be filed with the School Board of Trustees. All extracurricular semester reports were audited by the business office. The general ledger summary report of each school's accounts is provided. All extracurricular records are maintained for 10 years and are available for inspection. Questions will be addressed by Chief Financial Officer Kathy Friend. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Kathy? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And it is recommended that the board approve the following construction contract for the electrical physical plant improvements PPI project. Kissinger Electric, their base bid was $259,962, with one alternate for Northside High School at $38,847 for a total of $298,809. This project consists of interior and exterior lighting replacements and the installation of lighting controls at several buildings. Primary Engineering designed the project. The project is funded from the Operations Fund, which is identified in the Capital Projects Plan. This recommendation is within the project budget. Project specifications require the work to be completed by July 23, 2021. Questions will be addressed by Director of Facilities, Darren Hess, and the lowest bidder again, Kissinger, $298,809, and the other one, the highest, was $397,400. Any questions? Oh, I'm sorry. Is there a motion for approval?
I move approval of the project.
Second.
Now, do we have any questions for Darren? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and at this time, Darren Hess, Executive Director of Facilities, and Heather Krebs, Coordinator of Program Controls, will do a presentation to give an update on the Repair FWCS program.
Thank you, President Duff, members of the board, Dr. Daniel. It's my pleasure to give you guys an update. It's been about 18 months since our last update on the repair project and the referendum. Before I do that, we did send you with weekly a much larger packet that has more explanation and more pictures. So at the end, when there's questions, you can refer to that as well, in addition to this PowerPoint. Before we begin, I would like to introduce two of our members, Zach Evans and Kevin Grady. They are capital coordinators with the project, and Josh Summers, who was not able to be here tonight. So on the agenda, we'll touch base on the 2012 referendum, 2016, a small obligation bond, in 2019 and 2020 referendum project, talk about the financial summary, and then give us an update on the contract procurement, what is available to us through Indiana law. So on the program status, with the program repair, we always try to remember, it always goes back to the renewal of educational properties with appropriate investment and repair. So early on in the program, to achieve this, we came up with these 5 items to always look at when we're proposing projects. At the end, we always want to provide a better overall learning environment for all of our students. How do we do this? Replacing infrastructure that has reached the end of its useful life. All of our lighting, HVAC equipment, all of the things that we use in the classroom to support our students. Eliminate substandard environmental conditions. Indoor air quality, temperature, lighting, all of those affects that learning environment. We increase the security for not only our students, but also our staff. When we do this, we will look at overall building efficiency and how to decrease energy use, because we know that's money that goes back into the classroom, which again will provide a better overall learning environment for our student. And then to maintain a roof replacement schedule that's always a deferred item. So on the first bond issue, phase 1, in 2012, $119 million for approval. We completed 10 full building renovations: Snyder High School, 2 middle schools, and 7 elementary schools. 14 schools received air conditioning, 16 windows replacement, a large portion of roof catch-up, 28 different buildings. The program is complete and was on time and under budget. So funding for that one has been completed. So in May 2016, a referendum budget of roughly $130 million included again another 10 major building renovations: a high school, Northrop High School, 2 middle schools, and again 7 elementaries. All major renovations will be substantially complete by next fall. 16 schools received air conditioning, which allowed all of our buildings to be air conditioned by the end of the program. Provided security improvements at 33 buildings through secure vestibules and classroom lock set replacements. 2 window replacements, a few roof replacements, and then parent pickups at 5 of our elementaries. Northrop High School being the major high school for phase 2, that was completed this past summer. Top there under the orange canopy is our new secure vestibule and entrance to the office. Bottom left is the gymnasium that we were able to open up the ceiling and make it look more like a field house, similar to Snyder. And then the auditorium there to the bottom right, which is actually going to get some more lighting this summer as well. Lane Middle School was completed in 2019. Top left is the media center. Middle picture is a typical classroom within Lane. And then the first project to be completed under the phase 2 was the Center for Academic Success at Nebraska, and that was completed in 2017. Picture to the right is the front hallway outside the office as the students pass there every day. 3 elementaries, Glenwood Park and St. Joe, completing in 2018, soon after Washington Center in 2019. Top left is a picture of Glenwood from Vance Avenue. A big portion of that project was the curtain wall replacement with new windows and insulated wall systems. St. Joe, this is a picture of the 1936 original construction gym. We were able to open up that ceiling and expose that barrel vaulted wood roof. And the right is a typical classroom within Washington Center Elementary. Currently, we are at Shawnee and Price. We will be anticipated completion at the end of this summer. Top left is a picture of Shawnee. This is actually a view outside the student services area where we had to relocate the office for a secure vestibule. The bottom right is a typical classroom at Price. And again, we are looking at both these projects to be complete by the end of this summer for next fall. Our last 2, so this is building 19 and 20 of our major renovations, Lindley and Waynedale. Both of these schools began work this spring and anticipated to be complete by end of next summer. Other components within phase 2, air conditioning projects. 6 schools received air conditioning. These were completed in 17 and 18. We completed 2 more window replacement and masonry restoration projects in 17. Completed 12 secure vestibule projects. These were all completed in over the course of 3 years. One of the first things we did was the classroom security lock sets at 23 buildings. Completed a parent pickup lane at St. Joe Central Elementary in 2017. We currently are under construction at Haley with the expectation of that to be used this coming fall. The Funky Park, Scott Academy, and South Wayne are currently on hold due to property acquisition and their completion within conjunction with phase 3 work that we have at all 3 of those sites. And then the 4 roof replacements, 3 of them are complete at Northrop, Irwin, Wayne. 2 of them are complete, Northrop and Irwin. Wayne will be this summer, and then Maplewood is scheduled for next summer.
Well, Darren, when you say roof replacement, I know we have a systematic approach to the roofs. Is this a complete roof replacement on those facilities, or?
These are partial roof replacements.
Still partial? Okay.
Correct, yeah.
Hey, Darren, if I recall, in phase 1, we had savings of like almost $9 million or something like that, and we used that for some other projects. What's it look like for phase 2?
We'll get to that in the financial summary. It's looking good.
Okay.
Don't ruin the ending.
I promise we'll be back in front of you asking for approval of contracts.
Okay, awesome.
The 2019 general obligation bond, a little over $8.1 million. Work that's been completed is 2 middle schools to support the B instrumental program at Kikianga and Lakeside Middle Schools. We had corridor lighting and locker replacements at 6 buildings, A-Day access improvements here at Gar Isle Administration Building and set to begin at Facilities Building. Windows replacement at Facilities and then masonry restoration at 3 buildings. Another partial roof replacement at 6 buildings, always keeping on, trying to catch up on that roof replacement. Temperature control upgrades at 5 buildings, and then chalk to marker board conversions at 20 buildings, so that we now have all marker boards instead of chalkboards. Top left is a picture of the band room at Kikianga. Top right is the picture of the media center. We were able to flip-flop those 2 locations because in the media center previously there was a standalone lab. Now that Jack has us to 1-to-1, we're using those computers within the classroom, so we were able to take over that space for the expanded band program. This allows them to set up their drums and then their traditional band equipment on either side of the room and not have to tear them down every day like they had to before, and a lot of wasted time that they could use for instruction. Bottom right is the picture of lockers in the corridors at polls that are beginning and will be complete this summer. The 2020 program, which was approved this past June, is about $130 million. Major renovations at Wayne High School, Blackhawk, and Miami Middle Schools. Additions and renovations at Scott Academy and Funky Park. These are 2 of our schools that have modular classrooms. This will remove the need for those modular classrooms and add additional classrooms. Corridor and lighting improvements at 2 buildings. ADA accessibility improvements at 15 buildings, primarily wheelchair lifts and elevator modernizations. Window replacements at 3 buildings. Temperature controls at Southside High School. A large portion towards partial roof replacements over 21 buildings. And then entrance and security improvements at 10 buildings, finishing our secure vestibules. This is just a little more detail with the actual buildings listed. On the secure vestibules and office security modifications, as we reported earlier before, these are tough ones that are going to be very complicated because most of them have a portion of relocating the office to be able to provide that secure vestibule. So almost $8 million for those. Those were the hard ones to get. The proposed timeline, bottom left is Southside. That work is in process right now, nearly complete. Top is Wayne High School, and the yellow bars, that shows the design schedule. We will be back next board meeting for approval of a contract with an architect and see a contractor to begin that work. But you can see that it's a little more spread out. This was on purpose because of our funding. Instead of trying to get everything done in 4 years like we did phase 1 and phase 2. So this is about 7 to 8 years to complete this work, which actually fits well with our current market with the construction squeeze with available contractors and tradespeople. So on the financial summary, where are we at with phase 2? Again, phase 1, the bonds are completed, all the funds have been completely spent. So looking into phase 2, the original program budget, about 96% has been awarded. 80% of the work actually has been complete. The remaining work, like I mentioned before, is the current work we're doing at Price and Shawnee, so those will be paid as they get complete. 2.4%, or a little over $3 million, is the original program budget that's reserved for remaining work and overhead costs to pay for our coordinator salaries for project management, software, et cetera. Currently, we're sitting at just under $1.6 million in projected savings. To answer your question, Julie, there's also additional revenue from the bonds and from a premium sale of our bonds that is more in tune of about $8 million, 6 to 8 million. So we're still going through that process right now, but a good chunk that we'll be able to complete more scope of work at these buildings.
Good news.
Should we issue more debt?
No, that would be the same.
And when we have savings like that, does it have to go to the schools that were listed under phase 2?
Yes.
In the bond?
Yes.
In the wording of the, okay.
That's correct. And so just to expand upon, like at Northrop, like we did earlier with Phase 1 at Snyder, we'll be going back to Northrop and asking for additional approval to do the auditorium lighting on the stage. Some of that we held back in scope to make sure that we had scope or budget constraints. Now we can go back and finish some additional scope that we didn't get completed in the original project.
Or like that fence around the football field.
Correct. Yes, that's going to fall down.
Are
Exactly.
we doing that?
Yes,
Nice.
this summer. So on the reserve budget items, like I mentioned before, we do have money set aside at Franke Park, Scott Academy, and South Wayne for those parent pickups. Again, those are kind of held up right now to make sure that we coordinate with our Phase 3 work and don't waste money building a parent pickup lane where we're going to do an addition. And then also pending property acquisition that we are just waiting for. We have one roof replacement left at Maplewood Elementary. And then we have, again, our miscellaneous soft cost furnishings and equipment for Shawnee, Price, Lindley, and Waynedale, which will be completing over the next 2 summers. It includes our program overhead costs, coordinator salaries, program software, insurance, and supplies. Again, that's just over $3 million. Where are we at on financial for the existing 2019 general obligation bond? 85% of the budget has been awarded, with 60% of that work completed. A little over 1% of the original program budget is still reserved for remaining work and overhead costs. Overall program savings on this so far is a little over $1.1 million. A lot of that is attributed to our own project managers doing a lot of the design work and general contracting work for us, where we were able to save overhead markup of multiple people. So kudos to my team, because they came to us with those ideas and were able to put more money into more bricks later. Projects in the GO bond that are still in process are scheduled for completion through 2021. We have lighting and ceiling improvements at Fairfield and Shambo Elementary Schools. We are working currently on locker replacements at Tolles, Kikionga, Lakeside, and Northwood. Beginning set to start the facilities improvements for ADA, and then we have a roof replacement at Northrop High School. On the repair 2020 financing, again, this was just approved in June. We are currently anticipating 5 separate bond issuances over the next 5 years to fund the program. Staggering the bond issuance help us to maintain the maximum promised tax rate of 0.3028 cents per $100 of assessed value. The first bond issuance is on track to hit about the second quarter of this year. We're starting that work right now. So to switch gears a little bit, we always try to review all of the vehicles we have at our disposal for contracting procurement of these projects that's allowable under the state statute. The one that's most available to us and comfortable with has always been in the past the design, bid, build, or traditional method using a general contractor. This has been allowed for a very long time. Architect works directly with FWCS to fully design, then we put it out to bid, and then we build it. So there's 3 separate processes through that. Advantages, the owner develops the plans with the architect through the whole process. There is a fixed cost once the bids come in, so we know the cost. However, it is subject to change orders. There's a checks and balances. The architect provides a check on the contractor, and the contractor provides a check on the architect to make sure that the drawings are fully developed. Disadvantages, it really limits the control in selecting contractors. It's always awarded to the lowest bidder. There is no pre-qualification of subcontractors with this process. There is no cost certainty until after the contract bids. So that's when we come to you guys with bid recommendations, and there's a lot of alternates. That's for budget control, to make sure that we stay within our budget. But unfortunately, sometimes scope of work doesn't get completed because bids may have come in high. There are no pre-construction services or input from the contractor. Contractors get 3 weeks to look at the project and bid it. If they're successful, then they start talking about how they're going to construct it. So there's really no pre-construction services. Allowable since 2005 is the design build procurement. We have used this at Bloomingdale and at Harris, and then as recently as the Lakeside Kitchen project. Unfortunately, it does utilize a design criteria consultant. That's part of the code that develops the project scope with the owner. So we solicit proposals from design builders, and then a technical review committee must recommend a design build team based on qualitative and quantitative analysis, and it's awarded on a best value. So the advantages of this, there is a combined value and cost base. It's not just low bid, so you are able to factor in your scoring for the best value, some quality of contractors and subcontractors. It does allow for pre-construction services because as it's being designed, the builder is there along the whole time. There is a teamwork mindset between the designer and the builder. There is an ability for early bid packages. For example, if you're doing an addition, you can let out the foundations early while we're still finishing design on the actual building. There's early cost certainty because at the submission prior to the finished design, there is a guaranteed maximum price the builder-contractor team must provide. And there is one point of contact for warranty or any issues with the owner. Some of the disadvantages, there is a potential for misalignment in expectations. What the owner is actually getting for the dollars. So if you can imagine someone building a house for you and you gave them general specifications, it has to have a roof, it has to have a garage, it has to have 2,200 square feet, and then they give you a price of $200,000, you sign the contract, but as you're going through the process, you're further and further from the design table, and it's the designer and the builder making sure they stay under $200,000. You may not be able to get the type of lighting fixtures you want or the carpet because it's not within the budget. So there is that potential. The cost to develop proposals may, but it will reduce the number of teams competing. So when we have design build teams, it could be $10,000 up to $30,000 that they have in sunk cost to provide a proposal that they may not get the project. So marketing-wise, less and less architects and builders are wanting to do this. So it's a very small pool of contractor teams that are willing to do this. There is reduced owner input and control over design decisions. Again, talking about the house example, once the contract's signed, you're further and further away from the table on the design. And there is limited opportunity for checks and balances because the architect and the contractor are contractually on the same team. Since 2017, for K-12 in the state of Indiana, construction manager as constructor or at-risk CMC, you can commonly refer to. This has been available for for higher ed in Indiana since 2014. It's a value-based selection of the CMC through an RFP process. Each of the first-tier contractors may be pre-qualified, but public bidding by the CMC of those pre-qualified. So some of the advantages of this delivery method, there is a value-based selection of the CM and pre-qualification of first-tier subcontractors. So Fort Wayne Community Schools is picking and building a team based on qualifications and past experience and knowledge to complete the project. There are pre-construction services from day one. This includes estimating, scheduling, constructability reviews, and value analysis, so that as we're going through the process, we get tighter and tighter and tighter with the budget and the scope so that we're able to design a project that everyone is satisfied with. There's a teamwork mindset. At the table is the owner, the architect, and the CM, and they're working as a team throughout the entire process. The best part about this, there is an open book accounting. There's public bids on all of the subcontracts. The CM is allowed to perform up to 20% of work if they're able to do that. But again, they also must publicly bid those packages just like everybody else. There are potentials for early bid packages. For example, at Wayne High School, the stadium work could be broke out separately to attract more subcontractors that are smaller versus the large $40 million project at the high school. And there is a guaranteed maximum price. So budget control is set right away. The disadvantages, changes in the design scope can affect the guaranteed maximum price. Again, 90% through the design, I can't say I want to build an auditorium now at Wayne. That's not in the scope of work. So that is scope change, which will come with a cost, $1 to it. There are potential for some disputes between the designer and the CMC. Again, they don't have a contract with each other. So if there's an error and omission through an architect, the contractor's not going to want to pay for it. So again, there's a little bit of potential there. One of the disadvantages for design, bid, build, the traditional method for high school, for example, at Northrop, we did not know until bid day several of the bid packages were only going to be bid by one contractor, where in this approach, the CMC is constantly pre-qualifying and making sure we have qualified bidders to have multiple bids on each of these packages. With the other process, you don't know until that day. So we believe there was three trades in particular at Northrop we definitely paid a premium for, and there was no control over that.
So which were those?
I'm sorry?
Which were those?
Electrical, flooring, and painting, I believe.
So basically you're saying those were the companies that got were the only bidders?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, for those portions of work. So with this review of the procurement strategies that are available to us currently, we are recommending that we use the construction manager as constructor, CMC procurement and delivery method for the Wayne High School project. And with that, the accessibility and security improvement projects at Forest Park and Washington. The reason why we included Forest Park and Washington, these are going to be our toughest secure vestibule projects. To try to put in multiple lifts in historic buildings with several different levels of floors and then having to relocate an office in the matter of 8 to 10 weeks of a summer is going to have a team that's very well prepared for the project, and this will allow us to best prepare ourselves for that project. The pre-qualification of subcontractors, again, helps to ensure these quality standards that are met, and we still receive the benefit of competitive bidding through the process. Early engagement of the CMC in the design process provides early analysis of various factors affecting cost and schedule. Thinking of Washington and Forest Park, we'll have multiple options and real-time estimates of where we can put the lifts, where we can relocate the office, et cetera. CM manages and holds all of the subcontractor contracts, which pulls all of the risk off the owner, which is different than construction manager as an agent. So the CM manages and holds all these subcontractor contracts just like a general contractor does. So it minimizes our risk.
You said you've done the design collaboration?
Design build?
Yeah, before. Have you done one of these before then?
We have not. It's only been available in the state since 2017. We've been watching it very closely. We've been in contact with other K-12 school districts as well as the higher ed. We were on the phone for over 2 hours with Ball State, which I believe is about the 12th or 14th project this way. So we've been following it very close, and we feel comfortable with our research that this is the proper way to go with Wayne High School.
With our traditional that we've done in the past, you had change orders in there. I mean, how many, do we see a lot of change orders in the traditional way we did it?
Yeah, I would say no. Heather might have the number, but it's less than 3%. I mean, it's a little over 2% over the overall, which industry standard is anywhere from 3 to 6. We pride ourselves, we actually take all of our changes in the project and divide them into 3 silos, where we'll have architect errors and omissions, things they missed that we track separately. And then it's owner requested items, which I work with our team to make sure we get those decisions up front and they're solid before we bid it. But we do identify and review those owner changes. And some of the times it's not. We started doing the one-to-one earlier at Lane Middle School, for example. So we didn't need 3 separate technology computer labs. So there was a change there to repurpose those from the original design. So sometimes owner requested changes are part of the change order. And then the last column or silo we track is true changes in the work that were unknown at the time, things hidden in the walls. Archive drawings showed that a column's here, but it's not there when we go open up the wall, that kind of thing.
Thank you.
Darren, with this recommendation, how of the CMD, how does that align with our largest construction firms? And I'm thinking Michael Kinder, Hagerman, Wygand.
We received 4 proposals, and so that's Fetters, Michael Kinder and Son, Hagerman, and Wygand.
Yeah.
We had a 5th that bowed out at the time that because of a current project they just were awarded, and they didn't feel it was right for them to bid on it, knowing that they would be pushing it to deliver it for us.
Well, those are all solid firms.
Very solid.
Yeah.
These bids are on Wayne? Or
Yes.
Okay. What about Blackhawk and Miami, the other 2 majors?
We haven't decided the procurement for those yet. This is our first opportunity with Wayne, so we'll see how that process goes. On the schedule, you'll see Blackhawk is the next one. So we'll decide.
I'm curious about, since we're in that design phase period during this calendar year, if there's an opportunity for Superintendent Daniel and his team to talk about what they've learned over the past year with respect to the necessary space to deliver instruction and perhaps in a non-traditional format where we may have people coming to school in a large room, something that we might think of as an old study hall, and in that room, in that large room, is a proctor with kids involved in 6, 7 different areas of instruction. I mean, I don't know if that's going to come to pass. We've informally talked about it, but are we thinking that we may want that type of space at Wayne High School?
So we've had discussions of, are we looking at integrating curriculum, i.e. combining, similar to the new tech format, you might have a English class combined with a social studies class. So that would mean the expansion of classrooms. So we're discussing that with Mr. Hauser and his team, and but it's definitely on the table.
So you are having those discussions about what space should look like?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not the school of the 1970s.
Right.
And with the construction project at Wayne, does that include new tech, or is that considered separate? Or?
It includes that space. There's lesser scope projected for that because that work was done about 10 years ago, but there's still some infrastructure work that needs to be done.
Okay.
You've got a real solid team. And I think since you've been captain, I don't know if you've had a lot of people that have been traded to other teams or left you. I mean, that's got to be a real asset.
Yeah, I'm a Cleveland Indians fan, so I want to try to not do what they do and keep who we bring up through the farm system.
How are you seeing bids come in these days? You mentioned the trades tightness, and I'm sure the materials tightness. Is that impacting what you're thinking in the next 1 to 3 years out?
What we have seen in the past few months with bidding has been very positive for us because there were companies starting to look at public works again as a secure project moving forward because of COVID. So we did benefit this last year. Now, the last couple of projects that we completed prior to that bidding out, before COVID, we were seeing prices higher than what we had projected just because of the lack of trades and building it over time. We anticipate with all the work going on with downtown starting to revitalize again and start ramping up and electric works, we are a little nervous, yes. So this will help us keep in touch with those estimates as we go through with the market. I mean, right now they're bidding copper wire for only 48 hours. And then they're saying they can only hold it for 48 hours. We're seeing steel go up as much as 50%. And some things going up 100%. So it's fluctuating quite a bit right now. So we're going to keep an eye on it. We do anticipate higher costs though.
So with the completion of the third round on 5 years or whatever, we have what, roughly 61 buildings?
Depends, 61 to 64, depending on how you say
So
what
if
building.
you had the north side and south side renovations that were done prior to all these bond referendums, will basically every building have been touched over the last 10 or 15 years at some level?
At some level, but not a full renovation.
Okay.
If you think about Arlington and Lincoln, they have not been touched for several decades.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a backlog still.
The other question I had is, I noticed that, and I know we have, was 1 million plus square feet of roofing, and I saw roofing in a lot of these usages. I guess my question ultimately is, if we did not have these bonds, within our budgeting process, do we have enough dollars to support the roofing requirements we have and to service and cover all those millions of square foot of roof?
I would say no.
Okay. So without these bonds, we'd have real roof problems.
We would have major problems.
Any sense of 50% of our roofs or 20% of our roofs, or that these bonds help support?
I can get back to you on that. It's close to $15 to $18 million over the 3 phases and the GO bond. So we're close to 20 million that would have had to been paid for by the Capital Projects Fund.
By the end of the third project, 2028, think will be on schedule for roof replacement, ahead?
It'll be close.
Okay.
There's some large bubbles in there. So like 1 year it may be $3 million the need, but then the next year it's 600. It's more manageable. But again, it's cyclical in nature, and every 25 years we have to come back and replace that roof.
Right.
But the bottom line is, as the revenues that come in today, without the referendums, there would not be enough funding to keep up with your plan, which is a good plan, don't get me wrong. It's just the dollars aren't there as the normal course.
Correct, and that's true for every Indiana school district.
So we're not alone in that world.
The only way for them to build those referendum is through referendums to do capital projects, or even keep up with deferred maintenance.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
Well, thanks, Darren. I mean, I think that the taxpayers and the voters of Indiana can be very proud of you and your team and Kathy and the work that you've done and the savings that you've gotten and the fact that, you know, we've been able to use our own people to coordinate with the construction companies and keep everything on time and under budget.
All right.
That's what they want to hear.
I did have one more. I think you may know this, but I've heard the number of different times. What % of contractors or labor contractors has been able to stay in Allen County at least, or Fort Wayne metropolitan area that we've used over the last couple of referendums?
It's very high. We don't have the latest on that. And some of the contractors, for example, at Northrop, the planetarium, there's about 4 contractors in entire North America that still does that work. So they're out of North Carolina. So some of them have to come from out, usually the specialized. I cannot think of any typical general contractor or a large sub, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, even painting, sheet metal that is out of our 9-county area. The only ones that are outside of that would be a specialty contractor.
So well over 90% you would feel confident?
Well over, very confident.
Hey, Darren, I don't know if this will be another presentation, but I know before you've presented to us how much money we've saved with replacing windows and adding insulation and things like that. Is that going to be in a different report, or do you have those?
We touched base with that in the report that we sent earlier in weekly. There is a whole element on the energy leadership program and then also energy savings on the projects.
Okay.
With each project, that is always, Jim Cotter is, he comes in about every other design meeting and makes sure that he sits there and that's what he's listening for. Anything that he can grab extra dollars for. And plus we also go after every rebate available, and which has been very difficult because AEP and NIPSCO, they change their program about every 1 or 2 years, and then it's a whole new system to go and reapply for it. So, but he's very aggressive after going after any rebate that's available. It's in the millions of dollars.
Thank you.
All right, and as the sign says, thank you. That's thank you for the support for the board and also for the taxpayers and homeowners in Fort Wayne Community Schools, because we couldn't do it without them. So thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate seeing the before and after, and I think some of us have done that, and can't wait to see what else we have. I guess ready for comments.
I just pulled that up, Maria, and I'm looking at a bunch of numbers here, and 8-year energy use reductions represent a total district energy cost avoidance of over $15 million. Is that the right number, Darren?
Yes.
Okay. So this morning, I keep forgetting which, it's Jeff Roberts at New Tech, right?
Right.
Those Roberts boys are all over town. Somebody's at Pizza Hut and somebody's downtown. Jeff Roberts invited me to speak to several freshmen who are writing resumes, which is a real challenge for a 14-year-old who isn't eligible to work yet. But we had an interesting conversation with students about format and what they might include, since none of them have worked for pay, so we focused on their skills, assets, volunteer activities. Some of the students already know what they want to be, and I told them that it's awfully important that they have a dream job, and it may change, but it's good to have something to stay focused on. So I spoke to someone who wants to be a social worker, another one who wants to be involved in saving the environment with specific focus on animal care and the land, an electrical engineer, and great conversations with kids. So all on Zoom, and I think I come back for another round, but some really good kids, and I asked them a little bit about, what they thought about New Tech, and they're enjoying the experience there. So Lots of fun.
Thank you. Raleigh?
I have no comment. All right.
Jennifer?
I have a couple quick comments. First of all, it kind of goes on the shirt tails of our presentation tonight. Ann and I were able to take a tour of Northrop recently, and I wanted to thank Liz Bryan and Cleve Million who gave us that tour, and a shout out to all those students, staff, and teachers at Northrop. But it was a great, I've spent some time in there over the years, but not been there since the renovation, and it is beautiful. It is, it's very strange to walk through that front door and not realize you weren't in that same front door. There's a long corridor there that if you look back, you think, okay, this is where I used to come in, but that secured vestibule is nice there. And then opening up into their commons area, it has beautiful lighting. It's just very welcoming. Obviously, we saw a picture of the gymnasium that's fantastic. They really would love to be able to see that, I know. The auditorium, you know, there's a lot of things that Northrop holds out there or have held for, you know, young authors, all those kind of things that you grew up going to and the students go to. I think they'll be amazed when they're allowed to get back in there and see that auditorium. Just some of the design features there are just beautiful. And, you know, we were able to see the wings of the arts, the fine arts, the athletic new wing, and then into their Project Lead the Way, engineering, and the 2 rooms there. It's just, and the media center. I was just blown away, basically, and I do want to thank all of our, you know, our referendum dollars are going to be, were well spent. I think that they're coming up on their 50th anniversary coming up, and if all goes well and they can have an open house, I would strongly recommend that, you know, our community get out there and see where those dollars are being spent, because I think it's just fabulous. And this is not exactly what I was going to go off, but today, we had a bright spot. I'd like to highlight Sandra Bose from the Fort Wayne Education Association. She was highlighted with Diane Ravitch's blog, which for all of us public education advocates, Diane is who you want to be highlighted with. And Sandra wrote an article in the paper in the Journal Gazette last week, and then Diane actually posted that in her blog. And I think it was a great testament to what our teachers have been through this year. Sandra did a fabulous job of kind of the recourse of everything that we've been through in this past year and what our teachers have had to go through and what our schools have had to go through and what we have endured. And as a whole, you know, trying to finish up and seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. But remember, everything that we've had to do costs money and funding, and it has to come from somewhere. But she did a great job of congratulating our teachers and patting them on the back and letting them know how important that they are to all of us. So Sandra, I just wanted to thank you. Sandra is here tonight, and if you have the opportunity to read her article, I would highly recommend that you do that. So thank you, Sandra. And Diane put her on there because she thought it was so important that Sandra gets some national recognition, and I think that we'll see that through that blog. So thank you.
I have no comment. Julie?
No comments.
I'm going to do 2 as well, maybe 3, I'm sorry. One is delinquent. Kroninger Elementary was my intent last meeting, but we got talking about calling your state senators and state representatives. So I'll start with that, a reminder, somebody else mentioned it. Please call your state senators this week. Senator Bush, Senator Long, and Senator Cruz represent this area, and there's a board meeting. Senator Brown, thank you. What did I say?
You said Long.
Oh, Long. Whoops.
He didn't want to hear.
No, he doesn't. But please continue to reach out to them and talk about ESSAs and our desire to not have those go through. Funding for CTE classes will particularly impact Grile and those students there. So I want to encourage everybody to continue to reach out. But at Kroninger Elementary, after they say the Pledge of Allegiance, I always thought it's neat, they all repeat, a community of learners aiming for excellence. So that's their goal there. They're a magnet communications school, and they have a television studio. In the 5th graders capstone project, which my daughters are fortunate to do, they make a claymation pieces or whatever and do a video and tell a story. And so even despite the pandemic, they're able to work on that, and that's kind of the capstone project for the 5th grade class. Being as it is March and we're in Indiana, unfortunately the Hoosiers don't look too bright for
No,
this.
wait a minute. The women are
the women are there, but not the men. Kroger's hosting a March Madness where each class gets to create a team and 3 goals, which they work to achieve every day during the month. A goal can be anything from 100% of the students will complete homework on time to 100% show their personal best behavior during the school day, and each of these goals is worth a point, so a team and a class can generate points each day and up to 3 points, so a 3-pointer each day. And then they get celebrated throughout the week at Kroger, and then the crowd goes wild, and they have different announcements. There's different motivations and things like that for the kids to try and stay focused on their schoolwork, stay positive in their behaviors, and kind of move forward. So Carrie Kennedy is the principal there, and she just really appreciates everybody's support and the way everybody's reacted despite the pandemic, both students, staff, and parents, about being flexible and working well within the classroom. I had my first official, oh, by the way, they have a great tug-of-war coordinator if field day gets to happen. They're doing it for like 9 years now, and they can't seem to get rid of me, so it's a lot of fun, though. But I had my first official visit with Ian at a school, Brentwood Elementary. I had not been there since I was probably 10 years old in the basketball, playing Y basketball. It is the same gym. It's a little brighter, but it's nice. We met with Mr. Matthew Megan, the principal there, had a great experience. I did not realize they had a whole separate building as part of their campus that is focused on special eds and pre-K. It's a pre-K kindergarten, right, Ian?
It's for hearing
daycare for hearing impaired students. Mm-hmm. So they're working hard at their NWEA improvements, and that's one of the things Mr. Megan said and talked to the kids about while we were there, is just growing a little bit every day. They had an interesting thing we showed us with a 2nd grader about reading a story about tornadoes, and they talked about tornadoes a little bit, and then the students would write their own questions they had about the tornadoes, and the one little girl wrote, "Well, why do tornadoes suck?" And I thought, well, that's interesting, but she meant sucking up the wind and all that other stuff. Well, that's a good point.
Sure about that?
Well, that's what she said.
Oh, okay.
We'll take it. I didn't know that answer either, so they were excited about that, and I thought that was a neat way of learning. But one of the things Mr. Megan mentioned that really intrigued me is their student body is about 450. They had their 5th graders go together and make a presentation and videotape each of the languages that are natively spoken there at Brentwood Elementary. And again, Brentwood's right around the corner from where I live. I consider a neighborhood school. Mr. Megan considers a neighborhood school. They have 9 different languages that got presented and done at Brentwood. They include Spanish, French, Swahili, Arabic, Somalia, and Burmese. But within Burmese, there's different dialects. And so there was Karen, Mon, and Chin spoken. So here at the small Brentwood Elementary neighborhood school of 450 kids, there's 9 different native languages spoken there. So that goes to the importance, I think, of, again, call your senators and Congress or representatives of funding we need for our English language programs, because a lot of these kids, and Mr. Megan said, some of these kids, they get right, and probably not the right term, right off the boat or right off the bus, as they come to America and they come to our community, and they have to try and teach these kids and work with them, and they do a great job. So thank you to Mr. Megan and Brentwood Elementary. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Dr. Daniel?
Yes, I have a comment in regards to our personnel report. We do have a new principal at Levon Scott Academy, and that's Carrie Kennedy. So you were over at Kroninger, so she's been at Kroninger since 2012. I've met her, I've walked that building with her, and I think she's an exceptional instructional leader, and she'll take that practice with her to Levon Scott Academy. So she's been with us since, goodness, 2001. So she's a long-standing employee of ours. And right now, she's having to split her time between both Kroninger and Levon Scott, and she'll do that for the remainder of the year. So I think it's that leaves, again, she's leaving an excellent school, and we're looking forward for her magic as she works at Levon Scott Academy. So that's all I have.
Thank you. I realized I had forgotten that, so I'm glad you included it. Again, I want to thank the PTAs for allowing us to talk to them. Our last presentation is tomorrow at Arlington, but that doesn't mean we're done. If you want us to come, or whatever you call it, Zoom with you at your school, we'd be happy. The legislation session lasts until the end of April, so there's plenty of time. And even after that, you know, if you still want to learn about why Fort Community Schools has to do some of the things they do, we would be happy to talk to you about that and how the legislature is involved in the things that we do. At our last board meeting, when we had Dr. Marcotte come, I had posted on Facebook, inviting people to watch to understand what the complexity funding is. And I obviously have a lot of teacher friends, and said that, students living in poverty have different needs than children coming from middle class and affluent homes. And I asked teachers if they could tell their stories, because our legislators do need to understand why this funding is important to us, and what our teachers deal with every day. And I didn't have we didn't have a lot of time. I didn't want to go into it last board meeting, and then I read through it before I came today, and I thought I don't even want to read it tonight, but because I kind of got a little choked up on some of these stories these teachers told. But then I thought, people need to hear this, and they need to know what our teachers deal with every day. So one teacher told me that she had twin sisters in her 7th grade language arts class, and it became obvious to her that one twin was always missing. So one day she asked, "Why do one of you always stay home?" And she thought maybe they had to babysit. And the reply was, "We only have one pair of shoes. Please don't tell anyone. We are so embarrassed." And obviously the ending to that, the next day she went to school with another pair of shoes, which she had purchased, and so began her career as a teacher. Another story, it was 11 p.m. after an event at school, and there were some siblings that had no ride to pick them up. And they were alone in the parking lot. They said that they were going to walk. They rode the bus to school, so she drove them home. And she said, "When you get inside, turn on the lights so I know that you are safe inside." They said, "We can't turn on the lights. We have no electricity. We couldn't pay our bill." And it was December. Another teacher said that she has had and still has students who have lost a sister or brother to murder. I had a student who witnessed his father get shot and killed. I had a student who survived her throat slashed and her head shot, but her mother, pregnant sister, and brother did not survive. I've called home to mom to report a son's refusal to work, only to have her tell me today is the 3rd anniversary of his sister's murder. One teacher had a traveling classroom teddy bear with a journal. It would rotate through the class, and families would write about the weekend. When it came back on Mondays, the kid who hosted the bear would share at circle time. One time, it didn't come back at all. That student was absent for a long period of time, and when she ended up returning without the bear, I bought a new one and tried not to make it a big deal. Over the summer, I read in the paper about the police finding this family, the student's family, living in very unsafe conditions, and the children were removed. I never saw that student again, but a DCS case manager did contact me the next year to see if I wanted the bear back, because the girl did keep it because she had never had a teddy bear before. So obviously complexity funding isn't going to change these issues, but this is just a tip of the iceberg of what children in these situations deal with daily, and why it is more challenging and more costly to educate children living in poverty. So teachers, remember to share your stories. They're important. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Do we have any guest speakers this evening? All right, thank you.
No speakers? No?
Speakers.